There are 3 mistakes that I see a lot of model railroaders make that keep them from getting to their model railroad goals. Let's talk about them.
This video is brought to you by Model Railroad Academy. Model Railroad Academy is your online resource for model railroad instructions, ideas, and information, with loads of tutorials and articles for model railroaders of every skill level. One of my personal favorites is Alan Keller's Great Model Railroads series. It is just so much fun to look at all of these different model railroads from all of these different great model railroaders and just get inspiration from those. Plus, you can find tutorials on everything from bench work to electronics to scenery, all sorts of things there. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a full year of Model Railroad Academy for just $1.49.
Before I begin this discussion, I want to say that I'm not about to critique how a model railroader is happy with their model railroad. That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is going over the 3 biggest things that I see hindering people's model railroad journey. Let's get to it. Number 1, having no patience. I cannot count how many times I have seen people, including myself, botch some scenery or track work because they, or me, didn't want to do the task properly. Yes, we want that end product right away. We want that dopamine hit of seeing our trains run through some beautiful scenery that we created. But the reason those things are so great is because we know the value of the time that it took to create them. Now, I am not talking about not knowing how to do something. There is a big difference between, say, messing up your ballast because you didn't know to put IPA or wet water down that lets the glue soak in versus messing up your ballast because you didn't want to have to run to the store and get a bottle of IPA and you would have had to wait until tomorrow to do that. Having patience also means waiting until you're able to get the right tools and supplies. Waiting until the next day to go to the store to get the right paint, or waiting until your order of a roll of stranded wire comes in for soldering even though you have a roll of solid wire that will be harder to attach with soldering. Waiting to start a project until you have the time to see at least part of it through to where you have a good stopping point. Patience is a virtue that is essential for model railroading. Number 2, not having a plan. Now, this one really applies after you have learned a bit. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of model railroaders started with a loop and some haphazard building placements. I know I did. But there's a point that you get in this hobby to where not having a plan will only cost you money and satisfaction. Now, what do I mean by plan? Well, it's more than a track plan. It's thinking about everything that you need. How much space do I have? What is my control method? Do I need DCC or DC? How does the train maneuver when it's switching or operating? Are the scenery and buildings I want available, or do I need to scratch build them? These are just some of the questions that you'll need to answer. The way that I answer these is to look at what I want the railroad to accomplish. Let's say the railroad is going to service a paper mill. I need to ask questions like, are there model kits for this? How many sidings do I need? Will I need a runaround track? What kind of rolling stock should I have? These are just to name a few of these. One key aspect of that plan should be that it is flexible, especially during construction, because nothing is going to go 100% perfectly. But just having a plan will make things go a lot smoother. Number 3, trying to do too much. Model railroading is a constant push-pull between 3 different variables: time, space, and money. Because of this, we're always trying to balance and maximize those 3 factors. What I see people do too often is focus too much on one of these factors without considering the other 2. You could be trying to do too much in a short amount of time to get results, or you could be trying to cram as much as possible into a space that is too small, or you're so focused on buying trains and rolling stock that you're literally leaving 0 funds for an actual railroad. So what does balance look like? Let's use the example of the classic 4x8 plywood Pacific layout. If you are too concerned with time, you may be cutting corners on your scenery or not using the correct products like glues and paints because it was the only ones available right now. The space issue could be trying to cram every single little thing into the space you have. So cramming a 4-track main with a yard and 10 industries onto a 4x8 layout HO scale might be a bit much. unless you really like that sort of thing. This is where budgeting really helps a ton. Yes, we all want to put every penny into buying that latest locomotive release or an 8-pack of hoppers, but at some point we need the place to run them. So a balanced approach to a 4x8 would look something like a single track main with a passing siding and 2 or 3 small industries or 1 large one. Then having a few engines and rolling stock to run it. Then once it's all ready, you can go and expand. You can buy more rolling stock and locomotives, look at expanding your layout. Balancing these 3 factors will keep you from doing too much. I have learned these lessons the hard way, which is why I wanted to tell you guys. Hopefully these help you out. What mistakes have you seen or made in the past? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.